How's it going, everyone? Today, there have been massive spoilers for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, which have revealed all of the playable characters, all of the villains, all of the stages, all of the weapons, and much more for the game. So I will preface this video by saying, if you do not want to be spoiled, click off this video, because I will be covering everything that the Datamine has shown today. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. If you like this video, please leave a like, please subscribe, because I'll be doing this type of video more often, and I'll be doing my own commentary over gameplay of Hyrule Warriors as well. So first up, the playable characters. Now these are the icons we can see for all of the playable characters in the Hyrule Warriors game. We can see Zelda Link, makes sense, and then we see King Rome as speculated. And then we see two icons for Mipha. I think they're just two separate costumes. As you can see, one has like a tiara on it. I don't read too much into that. I think every character actually had two icons, but for the sake of this image, this was there was two on this first page for Mipha, so they just kept it, I think. Then we have Daruk, Revali, and Urbosa, and Impa. As we know, they are playable in either the demo or in Chapter 2. But in the fourth line is where we really get into the characters that might surprise some of you. Now I talked about in my previous video that went over a Datamine / leak that the characters of Sidon, Yunobo, Tiba and Riju would be playable in the game, and it seems as by these icons that they will indeed be playable. Now I've also seen other screenshots of gameplay that have confirmed that these characters are playable, so this isn't some sort of elaborate prank or something. There's definitely gameplay footage that shows these characters off. In addition to that, we have the characters of Hestu and the Great Fairy as speculated as well. It makes sense, the Great Fairy was playable in the original Hyrule Warriors, and Hestu makes a ton of sense, what with Korok Seeds having rewards and all that, plus him just being a fan favourite character. Now the next line, we see Master Koga. Thank God we get to play as him in the game, because that will be a lot of fun. I'm sure he'll have a very funny and unique moveset. Then we see a monk, probably Mazkoshia, but we don't actually know. As I said in my previous video, hopefully he has a moveset inspired by the Mazkoshia fight in the Breath of the Wild DLC, because that could make for a very interesting character. Next up we have the Egg, the small guardian, and he's confirmed to be playable, and we actually have a screenshot of him wielding some ancient weapons. So I assume that this will be some sort of moveset style related to the Guardian, whether he uses just those two weapons or he also uses the ancient spears as well, ancient shield. He probably has a couple different movesets, I would imagine, but that is giving us a little bit of an idea of how this small Guardian will operate. Now, next up we have Calamity Ganon being playable. And this may surprise some people. I'm not actually sure how large Calamity Ganon will be. I assume it's probably not the version of Ganon that's circling Hyrule Castle, because I feel like that probably wouldn't translate well to the maps, but probably some sort of Ganondorf-esque type of situation where he's still like a very large character, but he's just scaled down a bit for the sake of being playable. And then the last two icons we see are two of the Divine Beasts, Varudanya and I believe Varuta. Naboris and Meadow also have icons, but they just aren't shown on this page. So next up we have just some of the artwork for the characters that are playable, the new ones, so similar to how we could see Impa, Zeldas and Links in the Hyrule Warriors demo. This is the one for the Great Fairy, and it shows all four of them, meaning that we'll either get to swap between costumes or they all make an appearance in her different attacks. We also see the art for Sidon. He seems to be wielding two spears actually, which should make him unique to Mipha in that regard. Hopefully he is a unique character and not a clone. We have Riju, who's riding a sand seal, and this is assumed to be a pretty crucial part of her moveset, which sort of also confirms that the future champions probably won't be clones of the old champions as well. So that's really nice to see. Tiba, he's wielding a bow and arrow, that's as expected. He's probably the only character I could see maybe being a clone. I'm not sure how they would differentiate him from Revali, but I'm sure they have a few tricks up their sleeve. We also have the monk, so as I said, likely Mazkoshia. I don't actually know if that's the design that Mazcosia had, but I'm going to hazard a guess and say that's what he looked like. But I will have to check that out in later time to see for myself. And then we also have artwork for Zelda in her dress that she's seen in Breath of the Wild. So all of these are new artworks. Zelda's obviously not a new character, but it was a new artwork, so I included it in this section. I just realized I seem to be missing Yunobo, so I'm not sure if his art just hasn't been shown off yet, or if I just failed to get that, but I'm sure it would be somewhere if you guys wanted to find that. And I'll just also say that all of these images and leaks and stuff, I found them all on the Age of Calamity subreddit. Go and follow that if you're interested in following the leaks, or even if you're just interested in some non-leak gameplay type of stuff. There's heaps of that on the subreddit, and all of the spoilers are very well kept, so if you're worried about seeing too much, then you can avoid the spoilers. But I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you probably don't care about avoiding spoilers. Next up, villains. So, we see some recurring villains, but we also see some new villains, and this new villain looks absolutely crazy. So it's clearly some sort of Calamity Guardian, but it's got a massive overhaul, so I don't know whether this will be like a main boss, or whether it will be some sort of, maybe like main boss turned into like sort of basic enemy by the time we get to the last stage or something. But it's very, very cool. It's reminiscent of how in the original Hyrule Warriors we would face bosses like King Dodongo or Goma, stuff like that. I'm assuming this guy will probably show up in various missions as well. So I'm assuming it's probably not Ganon or anything like that. I'd assume it's not Ganon controlling this. But again, it's just a very cool looking Guardian who's wielding a bunch of ancient weapons. Next up we have an evil Egg Guardian. So this was speculated because we did see some Calamity travel with the egg back in time. So it's cool to actually have confirmation that this will exist. Don't know how it's going to be implemented yet, or don't know what it's going to do. Maybe it'll reverse some time travel, maybe you know, combat what Egg Boy's trying to do. It'll try and do the opposite. We don't really know yet, but I'm assuming we probably have to fight this thing, and that it would have a moveset similar to the Egg Guardian. Next up, we have what appears to be a new form of Calamity Ganon, and he looks absolutely insane. Yeah, I sort of didn't expect Ganon to look like this, if I'm being honest. But it doesn't shock me that the Koei Tecmo have decided to make Ganon look absolutely crazy, because his best design was the Hyrule Warriors design. And I think this design goes absolutely crazy as well. So I'm really excited to see what kind of moveset this guy will have, because we get to play as this guy, don't forget. So that'll be really exciting. Next up we have the new Yiga Blade Master, or whoever he is. Just some official artwork for him, nothing too crazy. I will just say it is sort of disappointing that we don't get to, it seems we don't get to play as him or the Fortune Teller, but maybe they will get added in a DLC update, similar to how in the original Hyrule Warriors we could play as Ganon, Girahim and Zant, and then later in a free DLC update we could play as Wizro, Volga and Sia. So I'm assuming that'll probably be the case here with this Age of Calamity game. Finally, we have the Prophet of Doom, or Destruction. I forget what his name, I think it's like Artos or something. I actually deleted the link, so that was a bit stupid of me, but oh well. But yeah, this is his official artwork. He is indeed the fortune teller that is referenced in Breath of the Wild, that sows some seeds of doubt within the king. Apparently, what happens is that this guy here, he advises the king to dig up the divine beasts and and enlist the champions and all that, because he knows that Link and Zelda could beat Ganon by themselves, but he also knows that if they dig up the divine beasts, Ganon could take control of the guardians and divine beasts and flip the battle in his favor. So that's sort of what his goal is. I really like his design. I really like him as a villain, so I'm hoping that they do him justice with the lines that they give him and everything like that. But and hopefully we get to play as him somewhere down the line, because I think he'd be really fun to play as. And finally, we also see the return of a type of Shadow Link. This is obviously more a Calamity Link, but he will be very interesting, because we didn't see anything like this in Breath of the Wild. So it's really nice to see that they're taking some unique creative liberties and making up some new characters for this game to make the bosses fresh, because obviously there is more emphasis on combat in this game than the original Breath of the Wild. So it is really nice to see the return of a Shadow/Calamity Link. I think that boss fight will be very fun as well. Moving on, we see the Blights. They are indeed in the game. More bosses, most likely. I assume probably they would be bosses in the later stages of the game, as we reach the end, because that's where they appear in Breath of the Wild, or at least in the memories. So here we see the Wind Blight, I believe. Here we see the Fire Blight. Here we see the Thunder Blight. And here we see the Water Blight, and we can also see that Mipha is fighting the Water Blight here. So it appears that they have the ice attacks, the Cryos attacks. Maybe we have to break them with the rune, just like in the real game. But it appears that these will probably be champion-specific levels where we play as the champion, we fight the boss, and then we inevitably meet our doom. Or maybe we don't, depending on how the timeline goes. I won't spoil that. So if you want to know about story spoilers, you can go on the Reddit yourself, but I don't want to spoil that in this video. Here we have some of the icons, or pretty much all of the icons rather, for the for not just the playable characters, but also other miscellaneous things in the game. So going from left to right, top to bottom, we can see that there's one for Link without a sword, one with Link with the Master Sword. Then we have two for Zelda, one with her flowing princess dress, one without. Then we have the Triforce, King Rome, Mipha, Daruk, Rivali, Urbosa, and then the next line is Impa, Sidon, Yunobo, Tiba, Riju, Hestu, the Great Fairy, Master Koga, Mazkoshia, the Egg Guardian, and then we can see some more interesting icons. So that's the one for Calamity Ganon that we get to play as. Again, his icon looks amazing. Then we have the Prophet, and then I think the next ones are just some basic generic enemies, so I assume that's like a Hylian guard, then a Zora guard, random Goron enemy, random Rito and Gerudo and all that. So we can see from this that we will be fighting against not just like enemies like Bokoblins, but also against different like clans of people. So that's cool. We get to at least mix things up a bit, either in like, even if it's only training missions or something like that, we at least see some unique fights. So it's not just going to be fighting Bokoblins over and over and over and over again. And then in the fourth line, second last line, we can see a symbol for Guardian. We can see a symbol for the 4 Divine Beasts. One for Hyrule Castle and one for Hyrule Castle without Calamity. So it's definitely apparent that the Calamity will be coming for Hyrule Castle at some point in the game. Then we have the Tower, the Sheikah Slate, the Master Sword, and then we can also see the Blood Moon. So it's cool that we see the Blood Moon make an appearance in this game. It was a very pivotal part of the Breath of the Wild game. And then finally we see the exact same symbol for Link as the first symbol we saw. So I'm not sure why that's there. I'm not sure if that has any relevance at all, but it's there. Now here we see the weapons, or every single weapon that is available in the game. So we start off with, I guess, the maracas that Hestu would hold. I won't go through all these weapons, but if you want to take a proper look at them, it might be best for you to pause. But just briefly going over them, we can see that there's the Super Ladle, Rusted Sword, many different types of bows, some like glove-looking things by the looks of things, some more maracas, so different types of that. We also see a bunch, pretty much all of the weapons that we could see in the actual Breath of the Wild game. So we see Lionel Crushers, we see Dragonbone Moblin axes, Guardian swords, claymores, even like the ancient weapons, like the ancient chainsaw and the ancient spears and all of that. So it's very interesting. I will bring your attention to, there's the Sheikah Slate, and then there's a couple of different types of Sheikah Slate. So I'm not sure what's going on there in the bottom row, but that will be interesting. And then also we have what looks like the Bow of Light. So it will be seen that we have to use the Bow of Light at some point in time throughout the game. We also can see the, like, what are they called? The like the dead Bokoblin arm, dead Moblin arm and all that. So we will be seeing like Stalfos and all those kind of enemies, which is quite nice. That's good confirmation to have. But yeah, those are all the weapons by the looks of things. So if you are interested in that, be sure to pause the video there and take a big look at that. And then finally, we have all of the stages that will be present in the game. Well, it's assumed all the stages. So again, I'll briefly go over these. We have from left to right, top to bottom, we have the Hyrule Field and the Bridge of Demise, or Breach of Demise that we played in the demo. Then the next levels are based on the Chapter 2 levels, so we have Zora's Domain, and then we have a stage where Varuta will be present as the Divine Beast. Next up we have Death Mountain, where we meet up with Daruk, and then his corresponding Varudanya stage. Then we have the area around Rito Village, where we meet up with Rivali, and then we have the area around Urbosa's town, so around Gerudo Desert. And Gerudo Town, it looks like. Although this is pretty far zoomed out, I thought the battle would take place closer to Gerudo Town. So I am interested to see what happens there. But you can see that those two don't have a Divine Beast section stage, at least as of yet. So they might have a Divine Beast stage somewhere later in the game. Next up we move to this town here. It looks like it's outside of the Colosseum that is present in Breath of the Wild. I must admit, I don't actually know what town this is. I don't know if it was actually in Breath of the Wild. I don't recall it being there. But we have seen like a little bit of a snippet of a cutscene where all the champions are congregating there. So that's probably Chapter 3. Assuming all this goes in order, that would make sense as well. Again, we see another screenshot here. I can't exactly tell where this image is, but it seems to be somewhere high up above Hyrule Castle. Next up we have Lost Woods, so that'll be where we end up meeting Hestu, and hopefully we recruit him there. Hopefully we don't need to get like every single Korok seed to get him. After that we have another stage over a bridge, very sort of vague, I'm not sure. This here could be the Akala Citadel. I think maybe that building to the right might be Akala Citadel. I can tell maybe from the autumn like trees. I know that Akala Citadel had some trees like that. Excuse me. So I'm wondering if that's what we're looking at here. On the right here, I've got to be honest, can't really tell what that is, but it's a nice little landscape there. Then we have the Yiga hideout, probably where we sort of wrap up the Yiga clan side of the story, where we fight Master Koga. This next screenshot, somewhere in the jungle area of the game. I'm not entirely sure. It's pretty blurry, honestly, this image. It's hard to tell. Then we have Hyrule Castle. We have screenshots of Varuta up on a hill there. Just a sprawling open field here, and we can see a tower in the background. And then we have Varnaboris traveling through the night, and another screenshot here of just some wide open land. I think that's probably the canyon, the really large canyon that's sort of in the middle of the map of Breath of the Wild. We can sort of see a little bit of Calamity here coming into, I'm assuming this is Akala Citadel as well. So maybe I was wrong with the first guess. I think this is actually Akala Citadel here. Again, we can see some more Calamity and fire going on here at the Skull Cave. I'm not entirely sure where this is though. There's some sort of building on the left here, but I can't really make it out. This might be Hyrule Castle Town here. This probably is Hyrule Castle Town or some sort of town that we haven't seen yet. And then the final two screenshots we can see are of the Hyrule Castle once the Calamity has taken place. So those are all the stages that will be appearing, or at least all the stages that were data mined. I'm sure there will be some sort of DLC that adds new stages into the game. But that is all that we have for today. Also, I will just comment, someone asked on the Age of Calamity subreddit if there are costumes for different characters. It appears that Link has about 99% of the costumes, and Zelda has a couple costumes, I think one from the Breath of the Wild game and the one she's wearing now, and also the princess dress. And I believe apart from those, it was only the champions that had their champion tunics on, and their original, and also their original art as well. So apart from that, those are all the Datamine costumes from what I've heard. A little bit disappointing. I was hoping that more characters would get different costumes. Hopefully in the DLC we get something like that. But I mean, I'm not going to hold out hopes for it or anything like that. I guess some characters would be difficult to give costumes, like Calamity, Ganon, and Hestu. But even if it was just for the future champions and the old champions, it'd be nice to see a little bit of diversity in the costumes there. So that's it for this video. Very long video covering all the leaks, but I hope you guys enjoyed it and were able to digest all of that information. If any more leaks do pop up, I will make a video on them as well. I will be keeping a check on the subreddit and also other forms of media to see if anything comes through. But I likely won't cover anything that I've already covered in this video here. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments. Please leave a like and please subscribe. It would help me out massively, especially those subscriptions. I'm trying to get those up so that my videos can reach a wider audience and I can sort of grow a little bit of a community here. So if you enjoyed this video, yeah, please do all those things and stay tuned for potentially more videos on leaks. Thanks.